What up everyone, True Blue here, and Donkey Kong Bonanza is less than a week away as of recording this, and I am super excited for it. Donkey Kong 64 was the last time we got a proper 3D Donkey Kong game, and it's been since, it's been 11 years since Tropical Freeze originally came out on the Wii U. It has been so long since we got a new Donkey Kong game, and I'm a big fan of the country games, and I've really always wanted to play 64, just opportunities never presented itself. So I'm so excited to play Bonanza. I have it pre-ordered. I plan on playing it 100% if possible. That game looks so much fun. But that got me thinking about Donkey Kong again. Just the world, the games. And Donkey Kong as a series, while it's been very dormant the last decade, there's been a lot of games within the series, ranging in genres, from games using a full bongo controller to a racing game with Diddy Kong. You know, there's been a lot of different games over the years, and unlike other characters in the Mario universe, where you have the Yoshi series, Luigi, and they're their own things, but it's still primarily Mario focused, especially with Mario enemies and stuff. The Donkey Kong series has always been very independent of that, with the exception of Donkey Kong himself and sometimes the Kongs appearing in spin-off games. It's very standalone, and they even joke. They're very comedy-centric with their dialogue, and they very much joke about those facts, and they're very meta. Overall, the series is amazing, and I love the country games. I highly recommend playing them if you haven't already, just to experience some of those titles. Looking at the Mario series as a whole, Mario has done so much. He's covered so many genres. But there are some games that I feel Mario can't do. There are some genres Mario simply can't tackle because it doesn't fit his character. And when you look at something like Luigi's Mansion, which kind of covers horror, and the Yoshi series, which is its own thing, but you could tie it back, Donkey Kong, I feel, could fill in that void. And with Bonanza being a platformer just like Mario, and a 3D one at that in the modern day, when you have stuff like Odyssey, of course, it makes you think. It really makes you think. And I've been going through, looking at Mario's just library, seeing what genres of games Mario has yet to tackle and add to his repertoire. So if you want to see me make more games and all that, there's a playlist that I made, so you can see other attempts I've made at some new, fun, creative ideas with franchises you all love. I recommend subscribing. More will be on the way very shortly at that. Depends how much time Donkey Kong Bonanza takes to beat, because I will be playing that a ton as well. Anyway, I'm going to hop right into it. Now, Nintendo is very stingy with their IPs. That is just common knowledge. They don't like giving out their IPs. So it's rare when they do, and it's very important to see what trends they follow and where they give their IPs out to. Mario has never made a game like this, but two other Nintendo franchises have. And that's the neat thing to think about, is that Nintendo not once, but twice gave out some of their most beloved IPs to make Warrior-style games. I'm talking about Hyrule Warriors, and the fact there's a whole sub-series now with a third game on the way, and then Fire Emblem Warriors. So if you don't know, Dynasty Warriors is just a big open hack-and-slash kind of game. You have hordes of enemies coming at you, and then your character, whoever you play as, is just going to town. A lot of other franchises have made games similar to that. I believe One Piece has it, I know Persona has it, and there's tons more, of course. It's very common for a lot of bigger franchises to take this format and make a big crossover game with all different parts of the franchise coming together. The original Hyrule Warriors is an amazing example of this, taking basically every single series and timeline of Zelda and mixing it together to make one really fun game. I do think it's underrated, especially compared to its sequel, which focuses on Breath of the Wild and has a canonical story to it. Now, why do I bring up these games? For one, Nintendo actually made them. That's the big thing. It's weird to think about Zelda specifically, especially at the time Hyrule Warriors originally came on the Wii U, getting a game like that. Because, the Zelda franchise doesn't have spin-offs. They're all kind of mainline, or they're on handheld, so they're just lesser projects. But with the exception of Link's crossbow training, everything has just been a standard Zelda adventure. This was new for the franchise. Fire Emblem is a very similar boat, where everything has been the standard tactical RPG format till Warriors came out. And then we also got mobile games shortly after, so they've expanded other franchises that are big in their library before. And this format has been the start of it, typically. Donkey Kong has previously had other adventures, of course, in other genres, but it is important to notice the big change Donkey Kong has had in the last couple years since the Mario movie, granting this big redesign, applying it to the new Mario Kart, and now Donkey Kong Bonanza being completely different than anything we've seen in the Mario franchise. As of now, with full voice acting, a story, Child Pauline, like there's so much going into this game. So it's important to note the changes happening to DK as a whole. That's why I think we could see more projects either featuring DK prominently as the title headline character or more presence within the Mario games. And one of those things I could see them doing is a spin-off game that Mario wouldn't do. I do believe the Warriors gameplay does not mesh well with Mario, Luigi, Peach. Those characters, I think, simply don't have the characteristics that would fit such a big genre of wide-open combat, slashing down dozens of enemies. While Mario has the characters for it, I don't think it has the right atmosphere for it. While a character like Bowser might fit for it, like Mario himself, I don't see him going around taking out hundreds of Goombas or Koopas or whatever. It just doesn't make sense to me, personally. That's where Donkey Kong comes in, because, well, Donkey Kong would do that. Why do I say that so confidently? He's a monkey. I don't know if you know this, but apes and primates, like the monkeys, pretty violent creatures. The idea of a horde of different species of gorillas coming at you and going to town on a ton of various enemies, yeah, I can see that happening. There's a reason there was discourse a few months back about if 100 dudes could beat one gorilla. They're violent creatures. So Donkey Kong being put in this battlefield where he has to fight dozens, hundreds of enemies, I could see it. And that's not just to say Donkey Kong would be the only one. Obviously, there's the whole Kong family, which would all very much fit these characteristics, because, again, they're all violent creatures in the real world, at least. So, with Mario being kind of out of the picture for a Warrior-style game, which is its own genre, really. And people just call it Warriors because it's the most prominent game with the genre. I don't even know how you would properly define it. Everyone just says Warriors. So I'm going to just say the Warrior genre of gameplay. Donkey Kong, I think, could fit that missing piece in the big Mario puzzle of gameplay that the franchise has not covered. There are a few other games that I could see Mario doing proper games for at some point. Again, I previously mentioned visual novels are one that they've never touched. And there are others, of course, that I think other characters could fit in, or Donkey Kong himself might be able to fit in. But that's neither here nor there, and if you want to see me talk more about potential games the spin-off characters or side characters in the Mario franchise could have, let me know. I would love to do that. But we're going to focus back on Donkey Kong. I'm just going to call it Donkey Kong Warriors for the sake of it's a simple naming convention that all the other Warrior games basically followed. Now, the big thing about Warriors is, for one, the character selection, which typically references a ton of parts of this franchise, and prominent characters plus obscure characters. A lot of them usually have at least one thing of DLC, like one pack. I'm not going to discuss that, but like technically speaking, there would be probably some extra content later down the line. Alternate costumes, and most characters, or at least some of them prominent characters, have multiple versions of their moveset based off of either like a weapon or like an ability. Whatever the case, they have optional movesets, which artificially increases the character roster because the movesets, while it's the same model, it's basically a different character. That being said, I have prepared an entire list of potential characters that would fit within a Warriors game, in my opinion, would be fun with some deep cuts, some not deep cuts, and characters people have been wanting to see for years, plus movesets. So to start off, we have the main man himself, Donkey Kong. I would assume sporting his modern design, but alternate costumes. I could see them taking from Bonanza, plus his older designs, of course, would be fun references. And I gave him, since he's the main character, the most potential in terms of movesets. I think it's fair to say if they're going to give a character special movesets referencing parts of the franchise, it would probably go to DK. For one, all characters have a default where instead of a weapon, it is close quarters hand combat. I could see Donkey Kong going crazy swinging his arms with big cartoony effects. Because that's where Donkey Kong Country really shines, is the personality and the charm of all the cartooniness that they really put into these games. So I would see them going full out with this in the animations to exemplify all of their attacks so it ranges more and attacks more people. But for other options, I gave him boxing gloves to reference Punch-Out. He'd have more of a typical fighting stance. A banana. In Mario and Rabbids, he actually uses one like a boomerang, and that matches up with his moveset. I think it'd be fun if they kind of took that into a more traditional style weapon. The coconut shooter from Nintendo 64's Donkey Kong game, iconic. The bongos, which I previously mentioned, were a controller. They were central to DK in like the 2000s, so I see that being a control option. Then minecarts are something that DK's always seen with. I think using one as a weapon and could be like a fun dash attack into a minecart swinging combo would be fun. Barrels are something DK's always associated with since the beginning. That would be something fun. On top of that, girders, he could get one giant girder and just swing that around, but it would be a big slow weapon. To reference one of his animal friends, on guard, the swordfish, he would use the fish like a sword, but it's still sentient. I know it's a bit of a stretch to say he would just use another animal, but I gave that to a few characters, because honestly speaking, that would fit with the franchise where they just use someone else's weapon. Next up, if we're going to have Donkey Kong in the Kong family, we have to have Diddy Kong, the number 2 of the Kong family. Personally, my number 1. Obviously, he will have his hands, his standard melee combat, then we'll have his peanut pop guns, some form of plane to reference Diddy Kong Racing from the N64, and Espresso. Not the Sabrina Carpenter kind, just the bird. Then Diddy's girlfriend Dixie, used her hair primarily. Then Squitter and Ellie, both animal buddies from the country games that she was a part of. Cranky, I'm giving him his standard cane, of course, for the melee. And then Rambi, the rhino. He was shown with it in Bonanza, which is why I gave it to him. Now for an older reference, Donkey Kong Jr. Back from the arcade games, I think Donkey Kong Jr. either grown up, or you could just say time travel shenanigans, so he's little again. Donkey Kong Jr. would be here and could reference those old arcade games. From the N64 games, we have Tiny Kong. Her ability to grow and shrink would be really fun. If they took her most recent design where she was taller, I guess that's fine. But she would consist of her hands and then her feather bow from 64. On top of that, there's Chunky Kong, who would use his standard melee plus the pineapple launcher. Then Lanky Kong, rounding off the roster of Kongs from 64 with his standard long arms and the grape shooter. But if there's any Kong we all love, it's Funky Kong. And Funky Kong would be using his surfboard or a bike referencing his time in Mario Kart, because that's what we all know him for, let's be honest. Lastly, one more Kong, so we have a group of 10. I'm saying Candy Kong. Candy Kong is Donkey Kong's girlfriend. I think the last time she appeared, one of the spin-off games. I don't think she's in the Returns games. So, like, it's been a long time since we've seen her. I think it'd be fun if she was there. She'd only have one moveset. Now for more deep cuts. There are more Kongs that aren't part of the Kong family that I've thrown in this game. Donkey Kong Jungle Beat on the Nintendo GameCube has a ton of bosses that share the Kong name. Dread Kong, Karate Kong, Ninja Kong, and Sumo Kong. All with unique boss fights and abilities that would make fun movesets. They would all have one each, and would be fun deep cuts to reference these previous villains. On top of that, Bonanza gave us 3 more Kongs, Void Kong, Grumpy Kong, and Poppy Kong. All of them would have stuff related to Bonanza. We don't know fully how they work in those games, but once we do, then you could probably get a better idea for what movesets we could give them. Lastly, I have 3 big villains that are not Kong related that would be the villains of this game as well. The Kongs would be like rivals to allies, while these are the big bads throughout the story. King K. Rool would be here, of course. He would have his main body as an attack. Then the blunderbuss and a bat to reference his time in Mario Sluggers, because that is one of his wildest appearances that he's been in. So I think it'd be fun to just give him a comically large bat. Then Lord Frederick and Tiki Tong, both from the Returns games. All 3 villains would work together and be the main bad guys of the story mode with their own movesets. So if you did the math, that is 20 characters plus 10 additional movesets, giving us 30 character options, or combinations if you will, to use in this game. That's a lot of characters, relatively speaking, compared to the other games that Nintendo did with Warriors. This is actually a small roster. The other games, like Hyrule Warriors, the original, by the end of its life, genuinely so many characters and movesets, like it was nuts. So I think 30 is a good number to roll with, and the fact that a lot of these wouldn't really be given to, because you have to unlock a lot of movesets in the Warriors games, so there's a lot of replayability and content there. I think it makes sense. It's hard to say where they would go with the additional features and content, if they would make like how they would make the side modes, how they would reference other stuff. It's hard to say because Warriors, truly, there's so much content in those games. It's hard to predict where they'll go, and it's rather where they won't go. They go so far out with the references, especially those Nintendo ones. So I think it's fair to leave it at just the character selection, because you can really get an idea. I gave 3 villain factions. They have dozens of different troops and enemies that could be opponents. You could even take the older boss Kongs and have them be bosses in certain levels. Everything makes sense, you know? It is clear-cut what roles these characters could fill in the story mode. Speaking of which, I have a brief description. It's not much because I don't think the story mode will be that important. Frankly, I think it'll be focused on the character interactions and more of just, they're here. You know, it's less of the focus on the story, more of the fun of these characters. So, the Banana Horde, our favorite plot point, went missing. Crazy. Donkey Kong goes looking around familiar lands from past adventures, running into old friends, families, and enemies alike. But then finds out that the Horde was stolen this time by K. Rool, Lord Frederick, and Tiki Tong, all working together. So he goes back and befriends his former Kong enemies to work together to stop this triple threat from using the Banana Horde for some evil, nefarious purpose. Simple story, not too crazy, but it would give us an excuse to visit a ton of old areas in a new style, plus encounter all these old characters again. I'm going to leave the story as simple as possible because, again, I feel like Donkey Kong Country, it's more focused on the characters themselves and just the fun dialogue they have, the whippiness of their conversations, rather than a general, like, point A to B, like, here's your full conflict resolution. That being said, if you want to make a full story and give me some points that these characters might go through, you know, plot points and conflicts or whatever, that'd be fun too. But that's DK Warriors, in my opinion, the only way to give us a warrior-styled game in the Mario universe. Mario doesn't fit it, and other characters, I think, don't have the roster to support it. While Wario or Yoshi would fit, in my opinion, as a character, like a main character to fight with this style, they don't necessarily have the supporting cast. In my opinion, that would also fit matching with the style. Yoshi lacks the characters, Wario has the characters, but I think a lot of them don't necessarily fit in this sort of style. Also, if you want to throw out DLC ideas in the comments, let me know, because as I previously stated, a lot of these Warrior games have some form of DLC. But that's all I got for you guys today. For some reason, Bonanza's been so on my mind. I know, shocker. But the idea of Donkey Kong going further with the franchise, I think, is something we will be seeing. I just feel confident we're getting more Donkey Kong in the next, 5 years. Warriors, DK Warriors, is a high potential in my opinion, just because of the fact that Zelda and Fire Emblem, two very different, very separate franchises from a lot of the spin-off treatment, got it. DK is something I could see also getting it, and it fits with the whole Mario going to every genre of game, because I don't see Mario himself doing it. All of that being said, I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to wish you all a lovely day.